We're going to have a look at the installation of an RP16. It's for the centre seal of double doors. Okay, the device itself comes in various lengths, 2250, 2500, that's what we have here, because these are extra tall doors. Okay, it comes in 3 meters as well for really extra tall doors. On the end here you can see we've got the fixing screws and then the device. So the device can fit outside or inside. Sometimes you can't fit it outside because very often with double doors there's the mushroom mould on the outside, and so in that case the RP16, if you're going to fit it, has to go on the inside. These doors have a rebated centre, so they don't have a mushroom mould. Okay, so we have the choice of outside or inside. Usually outside is better in that circumstance. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure, cut the length. We need to cut it at least 3 millimeters shorter than the door. So if there's any movement this way or that way, we're not jamming on the step or jamming on the head of the door jamb. Okay, and then we need to do whatever rebates for the centre part in order for everything to function properly. Okay, so what rebates do we need to do? Often there's rebates for the locking mechanism, and sometimes where there are on the inactive door, this is the inactive door in this circumstance, so sometimes if there are rebated bolts in the inactive door, then we'll have to do rebate the fin of the RP16 so that the bolts can still be actuated. Okay, in this particular door they're face mounted bolts on the inside, so we don't have that issue, but we do have a rebate to do around the lock. Okay, one thing that we need to be careful of when we're fitting the RP16 is that there is enough gap in the centre joint here for the door to still work freely. So if we look at this door, the gap from the bottom up to here is great. Okay, it's slightly wider at the bottom and it gets slightly narrower towards the top. Okay, I think we're still going to be good. If it's too narrow, then the first choice is to check in the hinges on one side or the other. Okay, so to tilt that door that way or tilt this door this way. Okay, so you need to have a close look at the hinges and figure out which door to move. Okay, if we need to do that here, it's only going to be just a tiny little bit, but I think we're not going to need to do that. So the first thing we're going to do is measure the length and cut the RP16 to length on the drop saw. Okay, so we're going to cut the RP16 to length. We've got a temporary fence on the saw here. Just line that up first. Okay, so we're going to cut in this slot here. Okay, we're going to mark this with a pencil. Actually that's the set length, so we want a little bit shorter than that. Okay. Now before you cut, you want to pull a little bit of the blade in. Okay, so we're actually cutting, after we cut, the blade's going to pull out a little bit. So hold firmly. Okay, so you'll notice how the blade has popped out a little bit. Okay, we may need to trim that off a little bit later. The other thing to notice here on this one is that we've got a bit of a crinkle cut thing on the blade that's straight out of the packet. We'll have to see how that goes, okay, at installation. So I'm just going to get a brush and clean the swarf out of that, and then we'll measure up for the rebate. The amount of blade that's sticking out there is way too much. Okay, so just going to push it in a little bit and trim it. So the way to trim it is with a sharp knife. It has to be sharp, and it helps if it's wet. Okay. There we go. Now we're going to see if it fits. Okay, it fits. So now we have to do the rebate for the latch. So with a pencil, we'll just position. See, we've got a bit of movement there because we did cut it a couple of mils short. So we'll just about centre it, and then mark the rebate for the latch. Now we've marked to do the rebate, and so the next part is to take out the blade so that we don't damage that while we have the RP16 on the saw making the rebate. Okay, so the blade is only held in there by the one little punched in part of the centre. So you can carefully pull the blade out. It helps if you pull just near there. It takes a little while, okay? And what we're going to do with this one, the blade in this one is not very straight. It's got some deformity in it. So we're actually going to put in a new blade from the spare when we come to put the blade back in. So I'm feeding it up and pulling it out the top. Okay. It's worth getting this out. You can maybe tape it down temporarily with some duct tape while you're working on the RP16, but it's really just better just to pull the blade out and then put it back in once you've done the rebates. Okay, so we're going to do the rebate on the RP16. We've taken the blade out, so we're not concerned about damaging that. We've got a timber fence, okay? So when doing the rebate, the RP16 needs to be face down on its visible face, okay? So it's very important that we've got a nice surface to work on. I'm just going to knock this fence out. Okay, just to make sure that there's nothing on there that's going to damage the surface. The other thing is that we want to work at exactly the bottom of the blade, so that's not going to be the case if it's like this. So we need to pack the fence out a little bit to do that. So I've got here a little bit of scrap material, so I'll just cut this to length and slip it in behind there, and that'll mean that when we're doing the rebate, we'll be at the bottom edge of the saw blade. So I'll cut this first. So now we're going to make the rebate from there to there, and we're going to come down almost onto that shoulder, okay, and that'll be the space for the lock. So we do that by very careful manoeuvring of the blade and cutting over and over and over again, and then we'll clean it up with a file at the end. So we finished the rebate. We left a few teeth sticking up here. Okay, so we're just going to take those out and then clean up with a file. So we're going to clean this up with the file. Just make sure that everything stays nice and clean so we don't damage the surface. I'm just going to put something under that end so we don't scratch it. And that looks pretty good. We'll just clean it up and see how it fits on the door. So we're good. We've slipped the new blade into this. You may recall the old blade wasn't very straight, so we've got a new blade in there. We've cut the rebate, and so really we're ready to fit. Okay, so that's how it's going to go. So what we're going to do now is get a pilot drill, So a 2mm drill is good. And so start by piloting one and screwing that on. See if we're happy with the position, up and down. And if so, then continue on, pilot and screw all the fixings. Okay, we want to screw in each fixing hole. Okay, so we're ready to fit. There's the rebate around the latch. So the next thing is to actually fit it. Now, we've got a bit of play in it. Okay, we wanted that. So what we want to do is fit it at about the middle of the play and pilot the center of one hole. Okay, it's very important to pilot. The reason it's important to pilot is because we're fitting right on the edge of the door. Okay, if you think you're going to save a bit of time by not piloting, you might find that that doesn't happen because you split the side of the door, and then that won't be very good at all. So let's start by putting one screw in. Okay, don't drive the screws too hard because you'll rip the head straight out of them. So what we want to do is we want to just see if we're in a good position. Okay, I think it's just perfect, and so we can continue on. If we weren't happy with the position, then we'd take that screw out, we'd move the RP16 and we'd pilot and fit the next one. Don't try and refit that one in a different position. Okay, so do the next one. If you're happy with it, okay, then do all the others and then come back and fit that one, and that'll pull itself in to the right location. So we're happy with the position. All we're going to do now is hold the RP16 flat on the door and pilot and fix the rest of the holes. Okay, put a screw in each hole. It doesn't take much longer to fill up each one. Okay, and it looks much better than missing some. Okay, so we finished fitting. We've fitted all the screws in there. Just remains to see how the door closes. Pretty good.